I'd like to call the regular city commission meeting of May 19th, 2026 to order and ask all of you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Steinhardt.
Present.
Commissioner Roselle.
Present.
Commissioner Elder.
Present.
Commissioner Olswin.
Present.
Mayor Paul present. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do not have any communications this month. And I do not see any elected officials in the room, so we'll move right along to public participation. This is an opportunity for the public to address the city commission for an item that is not on the agenda. Please come forward to the podium if you would like to.
Hi, Susan Considine, 12727 LaSalle. I brought it to your attention last year. I FOIA'd what has the Planning Commission done on the master plan, and I had to look through all this stuff, you know, like Big B Coffee, all this stuff, and try and find it, and I could never find it. So I was really hoping one of you guys would follow up on them, and it's not happening. And so at the last Planning Commission meeting, Commissioner Roselle came, I'm sorry, not Olsman, and I think he was referring to me when he called me the knowledgeable resident. And while it is taking up a lot of my filing cabinet, there's a lot of things that I still don't know. And that's why, one thing I don't know is why you're not checking in on the Planning Commission. Some of these things have been high priority regarding stormwater. Stormwater is very relevant to roads. I also don't know why the Planning Commission, quite a few of them, will smirk, laugh, and roll their eyes when it's brought to their attention that they haven't done anything in a year. I also don't know why we're paying Mr. Zalewski to Google codes from local cities and forward it on to the Planning Commission with no highlights, no correspondence to our own codes. Even PC Commissioner Linden mentioned like it wasn't helpful to get 30 pages or 40 pages of Bloomfield Hills that doesn't have anything to do with it. I also I don't know why he came and told the Planning Commission that there's basically no statute of limitations on nuisances. And yet, when you go and talk to Mr. Barry and even the Planning Commission, they're still a little confused about grandfathering in. I don't understand why when he comes and says, well, what questions do you have? Because I don't want to be searching in the dark. And they all sit silent, not asking questions. Pretty obvious that they don't know where to start. Why we're not getting additional help for them. I also don't understand why Mr. Zalewski comes and says there's no statute of limitations, which directly contradicts what Ms. Rosati, may she rest in retirement, used to tell me. And all the billable hours they must have spent, you know, putting me off. I talked to your colleague Carlito. I also don't understand why we have a Planning Commission checklist that's been in it's revision 2005, and why projects still come before the Planning Commission without all the things checked off. Key things related to stormwater. So not only can they come before the Planning Commission, they can be even approved by the Planning Commission when it's brought to their attention that things aren't marked as they're supposed to be. That, I don't understand why that happens. Another thing I don't understand is why, when we all complained about stormwater last year, somebody, Dan Goslin, was sent out to our house, and for some of us, he went on our property without our permission. And when I go to the city and say, why did he come on my property? They said, well, you signed. I'm like, I signed for public comment. And then when I ask, where's the picture, I'm given the runaround that, he's not good with technology. But then when I go in, I'm given a picture of it, and it says, sent from my iPhone. I also don't understand, I brought to your attention last year a property that doesn't match what was approved. And so then when I've taken that to Hank and I said, how does the building inspector know what to approve if they're not going based on the plan? He said, common sense. And I'm finding more and more evidence of that. I don't understand why when a resident brings it to the attention they're getting water, and Huntington Woods has no proof that an as-built survey was done, and Brad Brickell tries to look around on the laptop of his predecessor and can't find it, that the city just goes, oh well, and doesn't try and do any further investigation. I don't know why that happens. And I could come up with a bunch more. I did talk to Chief AP, I call him, about doing a really comprehensive review of stormwater and how we're doing it. Especially, I'll save the next part because I'm sure I'll run out of my 3 minutes.
You're wait. I didn't start the clock, but you're over 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I'll save Brad Brickell for the millage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gail Linden, 25840 Concord Road. It wasn't until the men's club auction that I found out how they were spending some of their money, including a new city sign out in front of City Hall, that there was going to be an electronic sign. The residents haven't seen it. I think it would be nice to see it. People live around the area and they wonder about it. And I'm just asking, is there a design for it and when is it going in? Thank you.
Jessica Dowdy, 13160 Kingston. It looks like I'm the only one here tonight to talk about the skate park. I just want to take a moment to,
Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you,
I'm short, I went short this time.
I don't want to short you.
I'm under 3 minutes.
There you go.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to thank Commission and Parks and Rec for your thoughtful decision to close the hockey rink for the season due to its unsafe condition, and for taking the additional steps to secure the area with fencing and signage to prevent trespassing and potential injuries. As a mom, I appreciate the city prioritizing safety and being responsive to resident concerns. I also appreciate the continued discussion about the future of this space and the opportunity to reimagine how the park can better serve a broader range of residents and families in our community. Parks are one of our most valuable shared resources, and thoughtful planning can ensure this area is welcoming, accessible, and beneficial to more people year-round, not just half the year. I also believe it's important to maintain transparent, city-led process when evaluating future proposals, ensuring decisions are based on what best serves the community as a whole and not driven primarily by privately funded concepts, outside donations, or plans that have not gone through appropriate city review and vetting. As a nearby neighbor, I also want to acknowledge how noticeably more peaceful the environment has been recently. The significant reduction in ongoing auditory disturbance has made a meaningful difference in the day-to-day quality of life for surrounding residents. As planning and conversations about the future of this space continue, I hope the city keeps long-term sustainability, neighborhood compatibility, safety, and broad community use at the center of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we're going to close public participation and open up our public hearing. This is the public hearing to discuss the 2026-27 city budget. I will open it up. Want to do a very quick review of the budget?
I can do that.
Just highlights.
As part of the budget workshop, we kind of went over everything from where we currently stand this year and just a lot of the difficulties that, obviously with rising prices, cost of construction, just inflation overall, and how that is impacting our ability to kind of do additional projects around the city. A lot of us are all very new as the leadership here, so we really kind of worked together this year to put together a more comprehensive, especially our capital planning. So I know that one of the things that, obviously with the bond millage, we're looking to do additional construction projects, and then just further, just have a plan for whether it be buildings or, or roads citywide, and what does that look like each year. So, but there are obviously a lot of constraints with everything, so, let's see. Our property tax revenue, there's probably about a 3% increase for what we're expecting next year for our property taxes. And then obviously we're always looking at, pension costs, OPEB, and what those impacts have on our budget. But overall, we had salaries across citywide, there was a 4% increase. We have been trying to scale down, whether that be on our, really looking at our employees, and seeing what we can do and how we can do things differently, whether that be, bringing in part-time employees versus, filling some of the empty full-time positions that we have open. So we're really trying to kind of look and realize and understand different ways that we can, put the residents' money to the best use. But obviously, with increased gas prices, utilities, that all has a factor in our budget. But kind of overall, we tried to stay as close to what this year's budget was with any potential increases that we knew of. Plus, also, there has been a lot of savings with certain positions that we are not filling full-time. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room to use those resources elsewhere. Let's see. Also, there are other decreases that we have as far as state shared revenue. And then there is a lot of equipment that is old and aging, especially in our DPW. So this year we just tried to kind of find different ways of financing some of that equipment so that it's not one large purchase, which we definitely would not have the ability to do. But figuring out ways that we can structure financing so that we can get a lot of the equipment that we really need here in the city, because otherwise we have to rent it or, various other things, which ends up costing us more in the long run.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public? Okay,
Number 1 and number 2.
just on the budget. We're not to the items of business yet.
Thank you.
Actually, I'd like to hear from the city at some point of where you think things could be cut, or if some of the expenditures are effective. I think I saw something like a juggler was paid $750. I don't know what that's for. But, during tight times, everybody's got to tighten their belt. So I'm just curious where the city thinks the belt could be tightened.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on the 26-27 city budget and move on to our regular items of business. And first up is our presentation and discussion from Onsaqua, which will be a money-saving presentation, I hear. You're going to cut our water rates for
I'm
us.
gonna try to work this way, so I'd rather be at the podium than at the desk.
Okay.
So I'm Eric Griffin. I'm here on behalf of Onsaqua. I'm the general manager, so you can go ahead to the next one. So I've been in the water industry a long time. I worked as a consultant with DWSD from 99 to 15. Then I worked for GLWA from 15 to 24. In 2024, I took the position of general manager of Onsaqua and Sacra. So I'm the general manager of both organizations. So just a little history. I don't know how often you guys think about SACWA or anything like that. I know you pay a lot of money to SACWA, but there's a rich history of SACWA in this area. Originally Detroit built the water system and they sold to the immediate inner ring communities. SACWA, at that time it was Royal Oak, built a system that pumped from 8 Mile up into Huntington Woods, the zoo, Rackham, and that second tier of communities outside of the inner ring. It wasn't until 1959 that Detroit kind of spread out into the wholesale world. So in 1927, that pump station was built. The zoo tower, which is out of service today, that was built in the late 20s, in service in the 30s. That was part of our system. The zoo tower is no longer in service, but that pump station down on 8 Mile in Livernois is in service and serves water to the communities today. So it's a rich history, and then it went through a great expansion in the 50s when a lot of the area was growing at that time. So we serve 12 communities. We have 10 members, 2 non-members. Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield Township are non-members, but they are under the contract that we have with GLWA. So we serve 56 square miles, over 210,000 residents, prominently residential. I'll get more to this later, but there's a peak hour and a max day peak hour, and that value right now is set at 60.5. We just went through a negotiation with GLWA. That'll go down to 55.7 fiscal year 28. It's hard to understand how much of a savings that may realize, but there may be a savings there. SACWA is the biggest wholesale customer of GLWA. City of Detroit is technically, but they're also the owner. So outside of Detroit, we're the biggest single customer, and SACWA itself, like our 92% of our budget is purchasing water. So we don't bring a lot of overhead. We're purchasing from GLWA and we're delivering it to our member communities. So, but we do have a good number of assets. 14 Mile Pump Station has a 1 million gallon elevated tank and a 5 million gallon reservoir. Webster Pump Station over on Webster, that's our headquarters, that's our main distribution of the system. We have a 1 million gallon elevated tank there. Then we have 2 reservoirs, one at 10 million, one at 7.5. So we have 17.5 million gallons of storage at Webster. Samoset is just an elevated tank, 1 million gallons. Garrett is 4.5 million gallons ground storage. And we have a Buchanan pump station that's down in Southfield, but that is out of service and really didn't benefit the system at this point, so that's kind of mothballed. And then Lamb Booster Station and Livernois Booster Station help deliver that water from GLWA up into the system. So we have a good amount of assets, and those assets are owned by all the 10 member communities. And that's just a geographical representation of the system. You see Bloomfield Hills and Bloomfield Township up on the north part. Those are the non-members. And then the core members in the middle. We do have 2 separate pressure districts. That's where you see that hatch line. So there are 2 separate pressure districts within SACWA.
Can you explain to me why they're not members?
They joined in like 2010, 2011. So they didn't help build the system, so they don't have any ownership of the assets.
Okay.
They got a benefit by joining the contract with our ability to manage max day and peak hour. So we were able to, save them money, and they, in respect, save the members money too by being a part of the system.
Okay.
So this one's animated, so this is kind of fun. So here's an old map, but if you click the space bar a couple times, you'll see kind of where the water goes. That red arrows are like the GLWA system, and the blue areas are where they enter SACWA. So those are key points of the SACWA system. So you have a northerly feed that basically is all the way from Lake Huron. That's a big GLWA plant. So that is a northerly feed that delivers a lot of water down into this area. And then if you keep going, I think there's a little bit more, so you kind of see where that all goes. And then a couple more down on 8 Mile. This is from the original built system. So that first arrow up, that's the Livernois pump station that was built in the 20s, and that's how that pumps up into the members. And that provides great redundancy. I mean, we just saw a major catastrophe up in Orion Township because that's a single feed up into that area. There's one line, one point of failure. We provide a tremendous amount of redundancy for our members. We do have a manned 24/7 control system where we have an operator watching everything that's going on, the purchasing of our members, the pressures in the system, the levels of the elevated tanks. They're keeping their eye on everything at that time. And one thing I'll mention about the elevated tanks too, I should have done that one slide, but those elevated tanks, GLWA doesn't use elevated tanks. Those elevated tanks aren't as much for the storage as like, they act as a shock absorber. When there's a disturbance in the water system, those elevated tanks kind of just absorb that without having that stress being on the pipes. If there was an elevated tank on some of these other major pipes, they might not see the failures they're seeing today. So that's a huge benefit to our members and to the area. So Huntington Woods, we have a contract between SACWA and Huntington Woods that goes to July 1, 2038. And it has automatic, and then SACWA, that aligns with the GLWA contract. So 2038 is that key date. And that will be like automatically extended unless there's any other reason. And then this Old Point's an old one. This is from when this contract was originally put in place. As my predecessor and the Oakland County Drain Commission really looked at if there was any feasible alternate to the DWSD/GLWA system, and there really isn't. I mean, this is where we are. So the lower water rates, all that storage, that max day peak hour thing, that storage allows us to have a lower rate than if you did not have that storage. GLWA just looks at how much do you use at those peak times, and that's the rate model they use. There's a lot of different ways to do rate models, but that's the one GLWA has chosen, and they assign all those costs to max day and peak hour. Because we can control that peak hour, we bring that all the way down. Storage customers kind of have a special benefit there, and that greatly helps our members. By being part of SACWA, you have a larger voice with GLWA. Since we are the largest wholesale customer, we're also very actively involved with GLWA. I'm one of 2 Oakland County co-chairs of their One Water Partnership, which is their outreach service that they do to all their members. But they have 88 water contracts. So it's kind of easy to get lost in the shuffle. I have a real voice at GLWA between my past history with them and the position of SACWA in the system that benefits. And when I mentioned that the peak is going from 60.5 to 55.7, I was on the committee that helped recalculate those numbers. They had been using a way that really didn't, it penalized SACWA. They used a 10% operational buffer is what they called it. So we demonstrated 55 million gallons, that's our peak. They said, okay, we're gonna put 10% on that, and they put 10% on everybody. Well, when you put 10% on, trying to think of a small community, like Ash Township is a contract customer with GLWA. 10% to them is like one water main break. 10% to us is 5.5 MGD. And it's not apples to apples. So I was part of that development of that new methodology where they used a little more advanced mathematical model to come up with a new peaking factor that I think is going to greatly benefit SACWA.
So I have a question. For a family of 4 in a 30,000 square foot home here in Huntington Woods, what does that mean?
I'll get to the last slide, which is kind of the numbers, but so SACWA was just water.
Yeah.
So you have the sewer side too, and in this case, a sewer may account for more than your water charge does, and then Huntington Woods has to operate their water system. And you guys have the same challenges as everybody else as far as needing investment, needing to replace things, needing to improve things. So there a lot goes into that building up of the rates. But we are providing a rate that if you didn't have SACWA and you had negotiated with GLWA, it'd be much higher because you also are in an area that people like to take good care of their property. They're gonna water their lawns. You don't have to tell them that they have to water on odd days. You don't have to tell them that to water before 5 a.m. This is things that are happening in non-storage communities in order to prevent that. They're peak shaving by changing residents' behaviors, which is one, challenging, two, inconvenient when you have residents that are, expecting a high level of service. So as far as what that costs, that house, I'm just saying that it's very competitive. What you're getting through this arrangement is better than you would get without it. But I can't tell you what, how many of that $300 is necessarily going to us. We do a annual water rate survey of the members. We do publish it on our website, and we kind of show, and we do some non-members. So like here is, and it does use some general usage values. So if you use 4,000 cubic feet in a month, here's what it costs in Huntington Woods, here's what it costs in Berkeley, here's what it costs in Royal Oak. So we will have that in July or August for the new rates, so you could also look at that.
Thank you.
Yep. We also, with our multiple sources of supply, we also have the 24/7 oversight. But we do field monitoring. We do the metering for Huntington Woods has 2 meters. We're watching that every day. So if we see something abnormal, we can reach out to the community and let them know. We also do all your regulatory water testing. So across the authority, we do like 75 samples a week. There's only a few for Huntington Woods, but we have a certified lab that's testing the water every week. And then we have a role in the county emergency coordination. So here's now we get into the rates. I mean, that was all the good stuff, but here's the sad news. But this is how GLWA builds up their costs. They have all these different functions, and then they roll it up into 3 cost pool allocations. Commodity is basically what you use, then the rest is max day usage and peak hour usage. So max day usage, we can't really control very much. That's just how much water we use in a day. We have 12 communities. On the hottest, driest summer day, we can get into that 50 million gallon range, and they're gonna set the contract value based on that. But the peak hour, if you looked at the demand of the system in that 50 million gallon day, at 6 a.m., it's gonna be pushing 100 MGD. If we didn't have storage, that's what the contract value would be. GLWA sets it as the same as our day value. So that brings it down to into that 60.5 or 55.7 number. So that's 40% of the charge. So that's where we're saving the money with GLWA.
So when the whole DWSD bankruptcy decree, capped everything for like a period of a decade roughly.
10 years, yep.
Yeah, on what the increases could be, and then the minute that expired, they shot up. Are you saying that because we're part of SACWA, we've been able to minimize the effect of some of those big rate increases that maybe others are seeing?
The rate increases are pretty much across the board. It's just the base rate that we're at.
Okay.
So everybody, in general, for fiscal year 27, almost everybody was at like 5.8, very close to 5.8. I did work with GLWA. We did have a long-running main break in Royal Oak, which I provided data for, and that commodity charge is like your annual usage. And I said, our annual usage is misstated because we have this long-running water main break. And so they brought that down, and that did save us some on that rate increase. So 5.8 was the across-the-board increase. We were at 5.64.
Got
So we did get a little bit, I mean, that's not a huge amount, but on $30 million a year.
Sure.
It's not too bad.
Right, okay.
So this is kind of a chart to show what it looks like. The blue line would be how much demand you have. This is kind of a model I have for current peak day. So the blue line is like how much my communities need. So you see at that 6 a.m. level, you're over 100 MGD. Well, the red line is what we take from GLWA, so that's what they're using to calculate the rate. And with that storage, they have an exclusionary period. They have a period where you're not subject to the rules of peak hour. That's in the middle of the night. That's from midnight to 6. And so in that time, we're taking as much as we can. We're filling our reservoir, and then throughout the day, we're depleting the reservoir to the communities instead of buying it from GLWA. And that's the whole peak shaving / putting some support on the lower peak hour. So the 27 charge increases, as I mentioned, the average system charge increase was 5.8. Our charge increase was 5.64. 92% of our upcoming budget is water purchased, but the unfortunate news is the last two audited years, 24 and 25, we ran a deficit to the tune of like almost $2 million. So it's been a challenge. You guys have seen what the weather's like. You may have seen in your own water usage here in the community that it seems like there are some changes in behaviors. So what happens is GLWA and SACWA uses a portion of the charge that's fixed. And if you fix a portion of the charge, that means you're projecting a usage. So GLWA projects a usage. They say SACWA is going to use 100 gallons. I mean, just to make the math easy, right? So then they use 60% fixed charge. So they're going to collect $60, whether we use a drop or not. Then from there, if I'm below 100 units, it's not impacting their revenue as much as it impacts mine. So actually, I'm moving to a 60% fixed charge too. I talked to several financial advisors and the auditors, and aligning our rate model with theirs gives us some stability on that risk of losing $2 million in 2 years. If we don't have a good summer, we were at a 25% fixed charge, and if we did not sell what we wanted to the summer, that's it. We are going to lose money because we're not going to be able to support what GLWA projected for us. So I go through the same exercise. In my budget, I'll have the projections of each community. There'll be a 60% fixed charge, and I had to raise the rates by 7.5%. It's not something that I expect to happen again anytime soon. I think from here, historically, we've matched very closely that GLWA rate increase. So historically, 5.64, we would have been right around 5.64. But we were kind of, with the decrease in volumes, we haven't been keeping up. So I had to reset 7.5, but this is what I expect to be a one-time deal.
So can I ask a question? So you're saying that the rate increased because consumption dropped?
Because if you look at the rate is the rate, but if you use less, then at the end of the year, if you take that volume and divide it by the rate, or divide it by the consumption and revenue and consumption, it will be different than what you project. It's not a fully commodity driven rate. So if I was saying it's $5 a unit, you're going to get $5 a unit. But if it's $5 a unit plus this fixed charge, once you do that, the math is a little different. So if you don't sell as much, so if my previous example, the 100 units and the $60 fixed charge, if I sell 1 unit, then that 1 unit's going to cost me $60. That's just that's just the way it works. Now it's kind of a gamble. It goes the other way too. If we had a huge summer, SACWA would beat projections, and we would have more revenue than what we were paying GLWA, and we'd be on a surplus. And we had a couple of those years not that long ago. I might be more conservative than my predecessor, and I rather stick close to, you know, have what I'm gonna pay GLWA and make sure I have that stability, than kind of roll the dice on that hot, dry summer. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
So then, we also told you about all our assets. These assets are, like a lot of places are, they've been neglected. We haven't done much for any of these. So I'm developing a CIP, full plan. I've done my pump station assets, electrical, mechanical, things of that nature. The great thing is we don't have anything in dire need. Things are working, but I mean, our electrical systems are vintage. I mean, you're talking about mid-50 electrical systems. They're not to any code, and what you really run into is if you have maintenance problems, you don't want to end up on eBay looking for a breaker for a pump. I mean, that's where you'll end up before long. So we need to start thinking about how we're gonna move those asset renewals forward. But then probably the higher priority are the reservoirs. They haven't been painted. They haven't been really deeply cared for in some time. So this spring, we did inspect 5 of our reservoirs, 3 of the elevated tanks, 2 of the ground storage tanks. We haven't gotten those reports back yet, but you know, to do an interior and exterior painting of the Gare Station ground reservoir is estimated at $1.7 million. So there's work to be done. Again, it's not anything that I'm here saying we have to do it tomorrow, but we did want to get the board understanding that we have to start looking at our capital improvement. One huge thing is we're debt-free, which is actually amazing. And we don't think that's going to be the way it's going to be long-term to do these capital improvement plans, but it would be good to have a balance in there too. So I instituted a CIP charge of $1 million. That was broken up by annual volume. So Huntington Woods' portion of that is $22,900. That's on top of the 7.5% increase. So a couple tables, just what that looks like. So this one, I highlighted Huntington Woods, the projected volume, that's that key piece. So I'm projecting 21,000 units. That commodity charge, that per unit charge is only $9, and then a lot of the cost is in that monthly fixed charge. So I'm projecting 480,000 in revenue from Huntington Woods. If you use less, I won't get that 480, and that's where the actual rate changes. Reverse, if we get more, then it would exceed that. But the unit cost, based on the projected volume and the fixed charge, is $22.83 per MCF, which is 1,000 cubic feet. That's a different volumetric unit than you use at the residential level, but it's $22.83. You see at the bottom of the table, Bloomfield Hills and Bluefield Township, they're at 4031. So it's a different scale because they're just so peaky, and they're not an owner of the system. It's not their assets. The CIP charge, using that projected volume, Huntington Woods is 2.29% of SACWA members' total volume. So that's that 22,906. So the total projected revenue from Huntington Woods is 503,006. And this is kind of the same thing, but you can go to the next one. And this is kind of an interesting chart that I put together. The GLWA doesn't publish or anything, but that light blue bar is SACWA charge from GLWA. The member charge is that lower number. So my charge from GLWA is $25.54. Your charge is $22.83. So you have a couple dollars savings right there from the SACWA charge. That's offset partially by the non-members. But you see you're pretty far down there on this scale. A couple of those low end of the scale are outliers, I would say. And then you see there's some that are way at the top. But some of our communities, the way SAC was built is all the charges are the same, all the rates are the same. Some of the communities in SACWA would right up there with the big red bar, the $40, without our storage and without our operations. So that concludes what I had to present for you guys, so if you have any other questions.
One last question. In terms of the CIP stuff, and you mentioned like painting some of these storage tanks and stuff, what about security of the facilities? Are we investing money in making sure that these pump stations and whatnot are secure? I mean, with everything going on in the world today, I worry there'll be a time when public utilities, whether it's the electrical grid, the water system, et cetera, could be vulnerable to bad actors, right? Either hacking into your pump station or physically attacking the pump station, and all of a sudden we don't have water, right? So are we taking steps to secure our facilities? I know we can't control GLEWA.
Yeah.
But what's under our control, are we taking steps to do that?
The sites are all physically secure. They're all fence and key coded security. They all have cameras, which is part of the 24/7 control system. Is they have a view of all those stations at all times.
Great.
We do have alarms for doors, things of that nature. So physically we're secured. The IT part is on everyone's radar in this space. So it's part of our audit to go through pretty rigorous IT auditing.
Okay.
And we're actively involved with that. The SCADA system is physically separate, not any sort of connection to the outside world.
Great.
Which is, air gapped, which is pretty typical in the field. But it presents challenges too, to be completely air gapped in this modern world. But that provides a very high level security.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
Appreciate,
Yeah, thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Can we ask a question for the audience? You didn't mention 2 above-ground tank, or holding tanks. Does the Detroit Zoo tank belong to the Detroit Zoo, or is it elsewhere? And there's also a holding tank in Birmingham you didn't mention.
The Birmingham tank is Birmingham's. The zoo tank is out of service and owned by the city of Detroit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Can you explain what you meant about changes in behaviors?
Water usage patterns. I mean, whether it can, there's no perfect answer, but it may just starting to cost so much that people are irrigating less. I'm sure that's happening. Also, I have one of my staff members that is in the sprinkler world. And the sprinklers, we went through this renaissance a few years ago with the thermostats, where everybody got the smart thermostats. It saves energy, right? The sprinklers are going through the same sort of thing, where they are connected to the internet. They are looking at the weather. So that means they use less water. They're acting more efficiently. So you don't have those people irrigating while it's raining, like the old days.
And then you said Bloomfield Hills, is it Bloomfield Hills is part of the system now, but they didn't pay for the system
Hills and
originally?
Township.
So do they get billed higher?
Yes.
Since they get
Yeah.
the benefit now?
Yeah. All right, thank you.
thank you. Item number 2 is a matter of considering approval of the fiscal year 2026-2027 annual appropriation, millage rate, water sewer rate, and tax administration fee resolution. Can we do all that in one?
I think it would be best for you to do each one independently.
Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion to adopt the annual appropriation rate for fiscal year 26-27?
So moved.
Second.
Do you want to make any comments to that, Amy? Or are you good?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay. Any public comment?
Are you doing item by item?
We're talking about the annual appropriation right now. Yep. Okay. Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The Do we have a final millage rate on
Yes, it is. The total operating millage is 19.778, and then the total debt millage is 2.7104, so that's a total levy of 22.4884.
okay, do we have a motion to adopt the millage rate for fiscal year 26-27?
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment?
A point of clarification, sorry, before public comment. This is the current millage, this is not related at all to what will be on the ballot, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Thank
Oh,
you.
this isn't 2026?
No, that wouldn't be, because our fiscal year end is June 30th, so the budget that we just approved will start July 1st, and the bond millage is not until August.
But are we still talking about millages related to roads and so forth?
I mean,
Talk-
there are.
Covers it?
We're talking about the millage rate as it applies to the budget that we,
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, this I think I can bring in. I'd like to, because Noack and Frous is so heavily involved with roads, I FOIA'd the contract, and just to show how dusty it was, I was quoted 45 minutes it was gonna take to find it. And it looks like their contract hasn't been renewed since 2018. And it does look like the engineering services are to be provided on an as-needed basis. I'd like to encourage you to look at the grading reviews that Noack and Frous provides, and maybe seek out other companies to do it, because Brett, if you look at a couple grading reviews, there's no real review of stormwater management. He overlooks things that should have been there. He's allowing houses to drain on the driveways, flood the city sewer.
Mr. Mayor, this is about the budget. This is about the millage rate. I don't
Okay,
understand.
all
what
right,
we're-
I'll find another time to look at that.
okay, any comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ready with the water sewer rate?
So the proposed water rate for fiscal year 2026-27 would be $16.25 per 1,000 cubic feet. And then there's also the standard that we've had for quite some time now, the ready-to-serve fee of $68 per year per household. That would go into effect on July 1st.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the water sewer rate?
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment?
I know other cities have charged their water sewer rate based on runoff and not usage, because some people may be just watering their yards. And so I hope somebody has looked into like how Oak Park is handling it. They're taking stormwater much more seriously than our city is. Thank you.
Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, the tax administration fee.
So this is standard. We would be collecting 1% as a property tax administration fee, starting with our summer 2026 property taxes.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any public comment?
I couldn't hear from back there. Did you say that it is going to be changing? Right now, is it not a 1% fee on there and it's going to stay the same?
Correct.
Same
Thank you.
1%.
Mr. Mayor, I want to be clear too, we were, criticized by the county for not levying the full 1% on all of the taxes that we collect. But we don't, and I certainly don't believe, we should be charging our own citizens to collect the city tax. Now, what we collect for the schools, the community college, and all the effort and the assessment and distribution of payments for that makes sense. But we have never, and as long as I'm sitting here, I would never vote for. And this resolution clearly says we will not collect it on the city portion of the bill. So the county can criticize all it wants, but we're not gonna do that.
But that's how we were supposed to make up the shortfall. from
That's
the assessing.
right, that's right, yes, right.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good with everything there? Okay, item number 3 is a matter of considering approval of the third quarter budget amendment. Amy, do you want to?
Yep, I'll just give it, as part of going through the 2026-27 budget process, we kind of just went through and cleaned up everything as far as updating some revenue projections. Also on the expenditure side, you know, making some adjustments for personnel and benefit expenditure adjustments based on staffing levels that have changed throughout some of the departments. There was also some capital project timing and construction schedule revisions, revised interfund transfers, and then just various other operational expenditure adjustments to have it match our year-to-date trend.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the adjustments, amendments to the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I have to go back. We forgot the last step of item number 2 was approval of the 5-year capital planning budget as presented. Do we need that formally adopted?
Yeah, I didn't see that on the agenda, but yes, go ahead. It is in the packet.
So can we get a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second. Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for catching that for me. All right, item number 4 is a matter of considering authorizing the city treasurer to transfer the delinquent water balances for 2025-26 to the summer 2026 tax roll of the city of Huntington Woods. This is something that we traditionally do every year. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is a matter of considering approval of the 5-year lease to purchase agreement for a new Vector truck in an amount not to exceed $600,000. Do you want to talk to this one?
Yes, as you know, Kevin Wayne did his due diligence in regards to getting bids on the Vectors. In fact, I saw the Vector that they've requested to purchase, which happens to be the cheapest Vector. It's long overdue that this purchase is made. The old Vector hasn't been in use for a couple of years now. We've had to borrow Vectors. With the sewer issues and with flooding issues, it's very important that we attack these sewers with the Vector on a daily basis. So I highly recommend that you approve this purchase.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 6 is a matter of considering approval of a resolution regarding public safety officer cooperation with federal agencies. Mr. City Manager, do you want to just hit the highlights of this resolution for us?
Well, I 100% agree with the resolution. I mean, it is a policy that we follow in public safety and always have. it is a civil matter and not a crime, and obviously we would not contact ICE or the Border Patrol in regards to any contact with an individual who might have an administrative warrant. Administrative warrants are used by supervisors in ICE, a way to locate people who have actually violated working visas or visas. And that's why it's not a crime, it's just a civil matter. It's not for somebody who's entered the country illegally. Therefore, I highly recommend that you go forward with that resolution, which would just state that we would not contact ICE or detain anybody for a civil warrant.
Okay. Do we have a motion
So
to
moved.
adopt?
Second.
Any public comment?
Thank you. Sid Carden, Vernon Street. So I want to thank everybody first, thank the commissioners for creating the resolution. I know it's a difficult situation. I think you want to, as commissioners, recognize the voices of our citizens and at the same time protect the city from the potential wrath of the federal government. It's worth thinking about why we're in that situation anyway regarding the wrath of the government. It's been a long time since local governments had to fear federal reprisals when making good faith decisions as far as their governing goes. Maybe we have to go back to the McCarthy era. But I think what's missing from the resolution is a statement that the city strives to protect the legal rights of residents. We already advocate for equal rights and the protection of the rights of Huntington Woods citizens. We have a resolution supporting Arab American Heritage Month. We have a resolution supporting Jewish American Heritage Month. We have an anti-racism committee. We sponsor a Juneteenth celebration. The city allows for diverse expression of views at city meetings. So we support the aspirations of our Huntington Woods residents of different ethnic, religious, and racial backgrounds. But aspirations are meaningless without rights being protected. Aspirations and rights go hand in hand. And I think by adding the kind of statement that I'm talking about to the resolution, we strengthen our commitment to our residents without incurring a higher risk to the city. Thank you.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the commission?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would like to say thank you to the city manager and to Matt, our city attorney, for researching, looking into this, and coming up with what I think is a very balanced solution that addresses the priorities that I was very concerned about, and that is ensuring that it's legal, that it's enforceable, and it is not performative. We have looked at the many, many other communities and, you know, and their actions, and I've spent a lot of time looking at what they've done, and a lot of them are performative. A lot of them are questionable in enforcement. And I think that this particular resolution strikes that balance, and it is meaningful, it has teeth, and it is not performative. So for those reasons, I support this resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I will say that I appreciate Mr. Carden's comments. I think that we have listened to the residents over the last several months. We did a resolution prohibiting a 287G agreement. We spent $200,000 on body cam translation software for interactions with individuals where English isn't their primary language to help facilitate interactions with folks. And now, we're looking at this resolution, which makes it clear that we're not doing a 287G, and we're not going to be, involved in their civil processes and these administrative warrants. And this is something that we can control, like the other items that we did. I agree with my colleague that things that have been introduced at the state legislature and talked about all these things that are going to happen in Lansing, They've all been knocked out by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, making it very clear that no state or local government can impose any type of restrictions or control on federal authorities. I mean, that decision came out a couple weeks ago. It was pretty clear. And I think what we're doing is operating within the confines of what we can do legally and still protect our residents. One thing that, I'm just throwing this out there, if the motion maker and seconder would support it, if we added like one whereas that says, whereas the Huntington Woods City Commission is committed to the protection of civil rights, constitutional due process, equal protection under the law, and the promotion of trust between residents and government institutions. We could add that maybe as the very first whereas. I think that kind of summarizes how we all feel, and certainly the discussion we've heard from the public, and that would be the only suggestion I have. I think everything else, I appreciate the work that the manager and the attorney have done.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Legal counsel, do you have any concerns with those suggestions?
I would not.
Okay,
No
and
concerns.
city manager? Okay. If
So
there,
as the maker, you would have to accept that.
yeah, I would like to accept the changes to the motion.
Same, I also accept the changes to the motion.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7 is a matter of considering approval of a right-of-way parking space request for, it's actually incorrect on the agenda, but it should be 25403 Scotia. This is an unusual, happens once in a blue moon, but the city commission is where someone has to come to request this variance, if you want to call it a variance. Do we want to start with any type of presentation from the homeowner? Would you care to start?
Someone.
Okay.
So I sent a message to Hank Berry, and I sent him pictures,
Yeah, and we have them.
and you have those,
Yes.
okay. I was very scared backing my truck into that garage for the first time. As soon as the metal antenna hit the garage door, my wife was watching, but we got a travel trailer too, and she's not here, so I can say she's not the best at helping when I'm backing things up. So I thought something worse had happened. We've got 2 kids. There's no way we're fitting both cars into the garage with being able to open the doors, get the kids out easily. We've got bikes hanging up on a wall. I don't know where we would put those if we lost this parking spot and had to find some way to get cars into a garage. So if you have any questions about the pictures or anything else, I'd be happy to answer.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I asked the question of our resident.
yes.
What's wrong with on-street parking and a permit?
We've got 2 kids, excuse me. So as they get older, it would turn into 4 cars potentially on the street. So if we get this parking pad now, it would limit that to 2.
When's the last time that pad was paved?
So it looks like it's from 1978, and I can tell you that because it looks at the same age as a child's handprint in the sidewalk that is dated from 1978. So I think it's been up for almost 50 years.
You know, with all due respect, this debate over these right-of-way parking spots has been going on for a long time. And, you know, people who have them feel very passionate and strong about it. Now, when it started, when the debate started, we did not allow on-street parking permits. That our previous police chief, director of public safety, was vehemently opposed to vehicles being parked on the streets at night. He regarded it as a big effort on the part of public safety if they drove north and south on Berkeley, Newport, all the streets, that they looked down the street they didn't have to go check on a car that was parked there. So, at the time, I was sort of dragged screaming and kicking into approving, on-street parking, and this happened some years ago. And that pretty much quelled the request for these right-of-way parking spots. I understand you have it, but you understand the ordinance that we passed years ago says that when the street is, redone or repaved or whatever, the right-of-ways come out, because most of those right-of-ways are old, like you say, are old and have been there for some time. I can, from your perspective, I can see, well, why do these guys care? Because there were so many of these, and they just proliferated all, without any, people, we had people putting them in because they felt like, and this is city property. It's not your property, it's city property. So, when you can get an on-street parking permit, this isn't free either, you have to buy, pay for it. And if it's redone, it can't be redone paved like this. It has to be done with pavers, impervious pavers, that don't, with the drainage and water and everything is also a big issue in terms of what was done. I just personally don't see what's wrong with the on-street parking. I really don't.
Would it be easy to get 4 spots approved on the street?
Can you, all right.
Would that be?
Why, back to your garage, why
Yeah.
can't you park 2 cars in your garage?
The truck that we have, that we bought when we had this parking pad, and we were told when we moved in 2020 that the city had no plans to remove it.
Okay.
No imminent plans.
I
The
understand.
truck is too big for that garage.
Okay, you said 4 vehicles, are they all trucks, all 4 vehicles?
No.
Then why can't they be parked in the garage?
So we keep our lawn equipment, our bicycles, things like that in the garage, so that does eat up a lot of space.
Okay, well, all the residents have that same issue.
Mhm.
You are a corner lot, so I would not have a problem with allowing 2 vehicles being parked there with 2 stickers. So you could have 2 vehicles and you'd have the other 2 in the garage.
I've also got a boat too that I would not like to
okay.
give up.
These are called high-class problems. These are like high-class problems,
The boat's a year older than me, so it's a high-class boat, but it's mine, and it's what I have.
Well, the garage should be free, obviously, for your vehicles. I would recommend allowing 2 parking, street parking, being as a corner lot like we do all the other residents.
My driveway is shorter than 11 feet. So once we do have our kids driving vehicles, would 4 be allowed on Edward?
That would take up most of Edward.
That's,
It would have to be, I'd only allow 2.
that's.
And then 2 would have to be
what
in
I-
the garage, or in the driveway.
But see, the thing is, and I understand, you're saying, well, we have a lot of stuff. That seems to be a universal problem. If you wanna see how much stuff people have, all you have to do is look at the citywide garage sale.
There
It'll
you
show
go.
you how much stuff people have. But, under the ordinance that we passed, and this went round and around and around. You say you moved in 2020, this passed long before that. This issue was up long before that. And it was intended to be as equitable of a resolution to, we have allowed, I think, 2 of these right-of-ways since that time. One was on a street where there's no street parking allowed by the house. The other was a very uniquely configured house where the garage was located way, considerable a distance away from the front. It was something that when it was designed back then, and then part of the right-of-ways were just put in. We couldn't find who said it was okay to put them in. It's city property. Bottom line, it's city property. And you're asking for a license to use city property like that, and I just don't see it in this particular case. Because we have to be uniform in how we apply this. So everybody's got a lot of stuff. Everybody.
Could I add one thing, Mr. Mayor, in regards to this? The problem with these, technically, for years, the state wouldn't allow parking between the curb and the sidewalk. But the problem by allowing these type of parking spots is every time people pull in and out of those, people are walking with their strollers or riding their bikes in the street. There's no curb to protect the pedestrian walking on the sidewalk. So if you were to back in or pull in at a time where somebody may be walking down the street, there's a hazard of it. That's why there's that buffer between the street and a sidewalk for pedestrians, or in most cases, there's a curb there. So allowing you to pull into those spots is dangerous for anybody who may be on the sidewalk. That's another reason not to have those.
I have a question, Andrew. Is it legal, because I see it happening all the time, to park on the apron? So to park in your driveway between the street and the sidewalk?
I think we're allowing those in certain areas, that they're doing that on the corners.
So
But
is that-
technically, there should be no cars parked between the curb and the sidewalk, which is like,
Between the street and the sidewalk?
yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, between the curb would be there, the street and the sidewalk.
But, I mean, is that something that we are enforcing? So is that a potential solution?
No, I mean, there
where
are
they can
times
park
where
their truck?
people are doing that on the corner streets, so they don't block the sidewalk.
Right, they're not blocking the sidewalk, they're
Yeah.
blocking the end of the
Right,
driveway.
right,
But they're parking on the apron?
Yes.
Right.
The driveway apron.
right. Right.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask is it Mr.
Sure.
Sherwin?
Yes.
a question? And just kind of give you context, the policy way before my time, but I think the intention of the policy has many reasons. One, safety. Two, a big part of this is impermeable surfaces and water management throughout the city. And these unique, configurations, when you add them up, it creates more impermeable surfaces. So what we're trying to do is be equitable in applying this, updating, as we're updating the street. So just to give you a context of where it's coming from. And a part of that, I think, in trying to strike that balance, one question I have for you, I read your email, but if there was a way of making that spot more permeable with the design elements, is that a possibility? Is that something
I would be fine with that if.
that we've done before, or no?
If we were to grant it, we have insisted on that.
Okay.
It has to be.
It has to be permeable.
I did see the second one that you spoke about.
Pardon me?
We ride our bikes through the neighborhood, and I did see the second one that you'd spoken about.
And so I guess my question, I know Hank's not here, but the city manager question then is, what is our policy then? Is that an option? When do we get to that option?
I'm sorry, which?
Is it a bargaining chip to get it? Is that your
No, no,
question?
it's not a bargaining chip. I'm asking like, is that a possible solution?
No.
No, it's not.
No.
Let's make it impermeable surface.
I'm asking for
Oh.
clarification.
No,
If there are any options
Oh,
other than on-street parking.
oh,
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, I guess when you get to that point, we could readdress or reassess in regards to the number, but I'm not, as I sit today, because it's a short street, if you're telling me to be parking 4 cars out there, that would be constantly having those cars parked out there.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
But
And-
that's why we allow them on all corner lots
Yeah.
for that reason, so you would be allowed to.
Yeah, the number 4 is my concern though, because it's a ways off, but it will become.
But I would hope that the other 2 cars would fit in your garage. If you don't buy all trucks, you should be okay. And the boat would have to go somewhere else, I guess.
Well, I had to shimmy out of an Outback when we put that in there too for one of those pictures.
Mr. Mayor, so I mean, I'm not unsympathetic to the fact that a lot of your driveway, because of its size, is unusable, because if you're parking on it, you're blocking the sidewalk.
Unless I have a smart car.
Right, you're gonna get a ticket for blocking the
Yes.
sidewalk, and so I see your apron is very short between the garage door and the actual beginning of the sidewalk there, so I don't see a vehicle not protruding into that sidewalk based on that.
Well, he could park the car, the way he's got it parked there, park it right there sideways.
Yeah, up closer.
Yeah, parallel to your garage door.
Yeah, I would rather, readdress this when you do actually have other drivers in the household, because that is we have, like as Commissioner Olsman said, in limited instances, considered like, where is the garage, the number of licensed drivers, how it was configured in 1927 when it was built, all of that, and that issue isn't ripe yet because they're not licensed drivers, they don't have vehicles, and it is a large sort of swath of impermeable surface right now. So I'm not saying it's not something I'd be willing to revisit in the future, but right now I think it could probably be made to work with putting a vehicle in the garage, parking one on an angle at the base of the driveway or up against the garage, sort of like you do now, and probably work.
We do have residents that do that, by the way.
Yeah. When
It
I
would
go
be
out
parallel.
and walk in the city, I see a lot of folks that are in
Yeah.
a similar situation do that, yeah.
Then my other concern would be asking for the permit for a street parking pass so that we wouldn't have to shuffle cars around if one person wanted to leave and the other was blocking. That would be,
So you get like one, you
One on the
ask for
street, one on the
street
apron.
now, and we keep one in.
that would be my ask so that we wouldn't have to move
I
every
mean,
time.
I personally don't have a problem with that, I mean, but isn't
Right,
that,
that's
that
for
would
the
go to
city.
the city
No,
manager
that's-
to,
As a corner
handle
lot, I
part of
think
it.
that's
I think he's
you
already said
regularly
he's gonna allow
Yeah.
it.
Yes,
allow
Yeah,
that.
that'd be acceptable.
But again, remember this, you're looking at this in the context of how long it took to develop, why it developed. I'm telling you, there were people that were doing it because they wanted to, without even contacting the city, just digging it up and putting in rocks and stuff, and then they said, well, I own it. No, you don't own it. That's city property, and anything you do with the city property requires, in this case, a special license. And since that policy passed, I could be wrong, but I can only think of two instances where we've allowed it, and it was extraordinarily unique circumstances, extraordinarily unique, so. And this is, to be candid, that I have a lot of stuff in a boat isn't unique, it's common. We all have too much stuff, so, but anyway.
So can we address your concern now by getting you an on-street parking permit to deal with putting one vehicle there? You deal with parking one in the garage or one like you have now, and.
But that's Joe, that's the city manager's job.
That's right, that's what I'm asking him. Yeah, if he's comfortable with that.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, because we can't do that.
Right,
That's-
right, no, I'm not saying we're gonna vote on it tonight, that it's the city manager's decision,
I
but.
could vote on it
I'm just-
ever, it's the city
Yeah,
manager's job.
I'm just asking. I'm sorry, there's like
No,
this
I know.
awkward back and forth,
Well,
and I just
we
simply
have
asked
we
you a
have
question, I apologize.
Mr. Rozell
Can you
is
just-
rewriting
can you
the
just-
city code
can you
as he
just- can you
goes
just
here.
Answer that.
I would be
So
comfortable with that, and, yeah, until we get to that issue where there are more cars
bizarre. Okay,
than we have spaces
all right,
for.
Absolutely.
thank you very much, appreciate that, all right.
So for clarification, we have agreed that he could have two on-street parking permits to that, like.
How would I apply for those? Is that something I need
Just-
to?
just- Yeah, just come in.
Okay.
It's simple, but I'll approve it.
We've had the parking pad, so I've never had to
Yeah,
apply for
yeah, I
one.
got you.
So I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you just fill it out, and I'll approve it.
Okay.
Also, when you get to that point where you have more cars and you want to consider coming back here and talking about this again, you might want to look at what the costs of putting in a permanent paver spot. I'm not saying that we would allow that, but you may be able to afford the rebuilding of your garage for similar amount of money. Just,
It's not cheap.
it's not cheap
yeah,
to put those in,
that's true.
so,
Well,
just says to put that thought in your head.
yeah, I guess the only other problem then would be getting rid of backyard space too, if moving the garage back enough to have an actual driveway.
Right.
Right,
So that'd be my other concern.
yes.
Okay. Item number 8 is a matter of appointing Donald Newland and Dan Stein to the Senior Advisory Board for partial.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mayor,
it was-
Mr. Mayor,
missed
do
on the
we need to
commission.
take action on that?
Yeah,
No,
there had been a,
there was no
There-
motion.
there
Do
was
we
no
need a
motion.
Motion to deny? is what-
well, that's what I would recommend, to close the item, if that's the commission's desire.
Participation for it?
Okay, Not yet.
And I'll make a
Nothing like
motion.
Coming on to the one you just left.
We don't have a
About
motion.
street
What-
park-
we don't
about-
have-
Hold on, please. So we need a motion on the floor first.
The motion would be to
Oh,
deny
I
the
thought you were
request for
done,
the
okay.
motion would be to deny the request for the permit for the right-of-way at the house indicated on Scotia and Edward, for the reasons stated on the record.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any public comment?
Thank you. I can remember when those were done, and I think they may have been done by the zoning board of appeals or whatever else, but they were taken away. And my only comment is, if somebody is going to request that, is this the avenue that they go to the commissioners? They don't go to
That's the
ZBA and they
ordinance.
don't go to planning?
The ordinance, when we passed it, changed it and said if you want this, you have to come here, correct?
Okay. And the existing right-of-way parking spaces that you were talking about, Jules, are quite exceptional or whatever else, those are permitted, correct?
The two that were allowed, are you asking about the ones that were allowed after? They were allowed by, as a result of a vote here to allow them, correct? There were
Okay.
two that I can think of.
Administratively, we decided that as streets are being redone, the city would take them out.
It's in the ordinance.
That's what I thought, is that
Rather
streets are
than
being redone.
asking the residents to take them out at their cost all at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Wait,
Aye.
comments?
Oh,
All
I
right,
think we,
all those in favor?
we got more comment.
Aye.
I don't think I'll speak for the rest of the meeting.
Opposed? Motion to deny carries. Okay, going back to the board and commission appointments, do we have a motion to appoint Donald Newland and Dan Stein to the Senior Advisory Board for partial terms ending December 2028?
So moved.
Second.
Any public comment? Comment or questions from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. City managers report.
Yes, well, first, could I speak as your public safety director instead of your city manager? First, I'd just like to bring up the, which most of you are probably aware of, the anti-Semitic flyers that have been disseminated in several Oakland County cities. Huntington Woods, Berkeley, Oak Park, Royal Oak, over the last weekend. We're aware of the organization where these were printed from. I'm not going to say their name and give them any more publicity than they already have. It's a national group, however, a neo-Nazi right-wing group that spew this hate. However, as far as the individuals that have committed these crimes, we have not identified yet. So anybody that had any ring camera over this last weekend of any suspicious vehicles driving down your street, looks like they're throwing things out the windows. What they were doing is they're putting them into Ziploc bags. They put corn in it as weight. They use corn in lieu of using pea gravel. So they do that so they can throw that out the window so it doesn't land in the street, it lands on the city properties. In those envelopes, they have these anti-Semitic flyers that are in there. I won't even discuss what's in those flyers because that's what they probably want me to do. This hateful behavior, whether it's religious or racial, is just not going to be tolerated. Huntington Woods Public Safety, along with Oak Park and Berkeley, are working with the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. I know that Mrs. McDonald already made a statement in regards to the investigation. We also forwarded this information to the FBI for further investigation to see who these people are that are disseminating these flyers. It's very important that we work with not only our public safety neighbors, but this is more justification for us in public safety to work with our federal agents, whether it's ICE or whether it's the FBI, DEA. In cases like this, this is where we get our intelligence. This is where we get our information. This is how we share this to find these bad actors. We're out here to make sure that these terrorist attacks, whether it's at a synagogue or a mosque, is not tolerated, and then we try to thwart these acts of terrorism. That's what we're here to do. Your police department, it falls under the executive branch of the government. We don't make the laws, we enforce the laws. We have one goal in mind. That's to keep this community safe. Who is our community? It's not just the residents here. It's people who drive through here. It's people who work here. It's people who visit here. That's what our job is to do, is to keep you safe. And we have a legal right to investigate somebody, that's what we're gonna do. We need to make sure, for the last 5 years, there's so many people in our country now that have not been vetted, that are here. If you don't think they're sleeper cells just waiting to act against us, that they're in states where they feel comfortable that they're not gonna be approached by law enforcement, that they're planning attacks, whether against Islam or against the Jewish community, they're out there. And that's what our job is to do, to try to find them, work with our federal agents, find out the intelligence, the information that we can. We do know that this department is well-trained in law enforcement. In 2009, I went to the National FBI Academy. Only 1% of all officers get a chance, or command officers get a chance to go to the Quantico, Virginia for a 12-week training course. I was fortunate enough during that time to have a class on counterterrorism. I was trained by Israel military commanders in that 12-week course. And during that course, we went over the behavior, the tactics of terrorists. And there's a lot that we know. We come back and we train our officers what to look for when they're on a traffic stop, when they are involved in any type of incident, to investigate, to see who actually we have in the car. That's all we're trying to do, is identify people. Once we know somebody's identified, and whether they have a driver's license or they're okay, they're going to go on their merry way. Our job isn't to try to have people deported from this country. That's not what we're here for. Your law enforcement agency is here to keep you safe, and that's what we're doing. So it's very important that you understand that, and we're working very hard on this case and any other case. We're just not going to tolerate this hate in Oakland County communities. It's just not acceptable. So we have to work together and help each other. If you see anything, say something. If it looks suspicious to you, you have to call us. If you have anything on video cameras, please call us. We'll look into that the best that we can. So now is your city manager. On a lighter note. So the 100th Committee has been working very hard. On Monday, they have a birthday party at the pool on the holiday, on Memorial Day, from 4 to 6. It's a traditional birthday party with balloons and streamers, cake and ice cream. It's the kickoff event for the year-long celebration of Huntington Woods Centennial. So we're pretty excited about that. Also, so everybody's aware, in October 4th, our 100th year celebration will be at the Detroit Zoo. Tentatively, it's going to be from 3 to 7. We'll have a giant tent at the zoo dedicated for Huntington Woods for the centennial. The zoo is providing the free tent, free admission, and free parking to all Huntington Woods residents who wish to attend. You do have to pre-register to go to the event. They're going to also have entertainment, face painting for children, zoo mascot characters, yard games, as well as snacks and refreshments. However, there will be a cash bar. Families can use this tent as their home base, and then at their leisure, walk the zoo. It's actually Zoo Boo would start then. So you can walk around and see everything that's decorated for Halloween during that time. And then they're also working some other projects they're still working on with the committee. They're going to have Pewabic tiles, 100-year anniversary Pewabic tiles that'll be for sale. They're also going to have a tile mural that'll be at the community center as a project where you'll be able to paint these tiles, put them together, and build a nice mural that they'll display over at the rec center. That's coming also. And any other information will be forthcoming. Just please make sure you're on the e-blast and you look at our website. All this information will be there for you. It looks like it's going to be a fun year for the kids and for the adults. And the zoo in October, it's going to be a lot of fun for all the residents. Looking forward to it. And that's it.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for the city manager? Seeing none, moving on to commissioner comments. Mayor Pro Tem Steinhardt.
Just want to thank you, Andrew, both as the city manager and as Director of Public Safety for your, for the work that you did to address the flyers that were scattered around parts of the community. I know it was really concerning to a lot of folks. I'm glad that nothing suggested violence, but I'm grateful for the work that you did and the coordination that you've done with, the school district was engaging with public safety and as well as the other communities that were targeted.
Commissioner Rozell,
Nope.
Commissioner Elder,
No comments, thank you.
Commissioner Olsman.
No comments.
No comments from me. With that, do we have a motion to
So
adjourn? Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Joe is done.
I know.